He falls out of a helicopter. Not dramatically. Not cinematically. The RPG hits, the helo breaks apart mid-air over the Hindu Kush mountains of Afghanistan, and Master Chief Richard Murko gets separated from the fuselage on the way down, which is the only reason he's still alive when he hits the ground. His team isn't. He calls their names one by one into the radio. Pataski. Shane. Jr. Nobody answers. Command tells him the crash site shows no movement, no signatures, no survivors. He goes anyway. That detail, the man who just watched his helicopter go down, surrounded by enemy combatants, ordered to disengage, choosing to move toward the wreckage instead of away from it, that detail is the whole movie. Not the action sequences. Not the firefights. That choice. The one where you know exactly what the odds are and you go anyway because those are your men and you're not going to let them die on a mountain without knowing you tried. I can live with that, he tells Command. Yeah, but I don't want to, his commander replies. That exchange happens inside the first 15 minutes. You already know who Richard Murko is. Let me back up because the film opens in two places at once and both of them matter. The first, a phone call between two men trying to move American missionaries out of Afghanistan during the chaotic final days of the U.S. withdrawal. The Reverend Matthew Walters, his wife Rashida, born in Kabul, naturalized American, 41 years old, and their two children, William, 13, and Zoe, 5. They stayed too long. They were helping coordinate the evacuation of Afghan interpreters, doing the work that mattered, and they ran out of time. They're in a dark green 93 Trooper heading for the Pakistani border. They're lost. And the insurgents, not just Taliban but forces being trucked in from Pakistan and Syria, clearing everything in their path, are pushing hard into the surrounding villages. The second, Murko's team, callsign Warhorse, rerouted mid-mission to intercept and extract the Walters family. 6 friendlies and a green trooper. They're close. And then the RPG comes in. The helo goes down. The team is gone. And Murko, the only survivor, finds the trooper. The Reverend is dying. He looks up at Murko and says, "Not me." Meaning his wife, who is already gone. And Murko turns and there's Zoe, 5 years old, sitting next to her mother's body, telling him quietly, "Mama says we're going to be okay." "Mama's sleeping," she says. "We have to wait until she wakes up." Murko kneels down. Tells her they should let her sleep. Tells her his friends are coming to meet them, up there on the mountain where it's safe. Takes her hand. From that moment on, the mission has changed. He came for 6. He's leaving with 1. And she is 5 years old and she has just lost her entire family and she thinks her mother is sleeping. The film earns every second of what comes next. The dynamic between Murko and Zoe is the film's entire heart, and I want to be careful about how I describe it because it would be easy to call it cute and that word would be exactly wrong. It's not cute. It's survival. Murko is a Navy SEAL Master Chief. He operates in the language of tactical assessments and threat vectors and fire discipline. He doesn't do small talk. He doesn't do comfort. When Zoe tries to bring her stuffed rabbit Louie, he takes it. It could give away their position. He gives her a tactical one instead. "That's mine." "Yeah, and if somebody spots it, it'll give away our position. You can take this one." She takes it. She names it Louie too. He teaches her how to throw a knife. How to stay still when she hears movement. How to hold his vest when they're running. When she runs ahead of him and nearly steps on a landmine, he grabs her, and the film holds on both of their faces for a moment before he explains what it is. His voice doesn't shake. He needs her to understand without being destroyed by the understanding. "No matter what you see or hear, if I put you somewhere, you stay there and you stay quiet." She nods. She learns. She's 5 years old and she learns faster than most adults would in the same situation, because children are sometimes more capable of the necessary thing than we give them credit for, and because she already understands, without being told, that the alternative is worse. There's a night on the mountain where Zoe asks him to tell her a story. Murko, this man who has been running on tactical efficiency and controlled fury since the crash, thinks for a second. Then he tells her about Aziz Latiri, a Muslim Peshmerga fighter in Kirkuk, Iraq. Murko and his team were pinned down, surrounded, not going to make it. A truck pulled up. Aziz jumped out. Gave them cover. Let them get out. At first I thought he was just crazy, Murko says. Then I realized he was just really brave. He saved our lives that day. Zoe had asked him, "Is the enemy Muslim?" He told her, "I don't care what they believe in. If you're intentionally killing innocent people, that makes you the bad guys." And then he tells her about Aziz. The story isn't a lesson. He's not trying to teach her theology or geopolitics. He's just telling her the truth, that he owes his life to a man who didn't have to help him, and that man was Muslim, and that matters. Because the world is complicated and 5-year-olds deserve the truth even when it's complicated. Rest your soul, Aziz. Rest your soul. He says it quietly, looking somewhere above the tree-line. And Zoe watches him. And falls asleep. That scene is the film's center. Everything else is structure. That's the soul. The Taliban commander, Jarrah, is hunting them across the mountain. He's not a cartoon. The film gives him a speech that lands harder than it's supposed to. You have killed thousands of my brothers. Civilians. Innocent women, children. For what? For the poppies, the pipelines? Or just another financed puppet government? Mirko's answer is characteristically direct. I think it's just to kill shitheads like you. But here's what the film is doing with this exchange that I think deserves attention. It doesn't let Jarrah's argument disappear just because Mirko dismisses it. The speech sits there. The history of Afghanistan sits there. Alexander, the Khans, the Persians, the British, the Soviets, the Americans. The graveyard of empires. Jarrah knows this history and means what he says, and the film respects the audience enough not to paper over it with easy flag waving. What the film is saying without saying it directly is this. The geopolitics are real and they're complicated and they don't resolve cleanly. And none of that changes what Mirko's job is right now. Which is to get this 5-year-old girl off this mountain. The mission and the argument can both be true. Warhorse 1 doesn't ask you to choose. There's a goat herder. An older Afghan man who finds them in the mountains, offers to help, leads them toward his village. Mirko doesn't trust him, doesn't trust anyone, but the man is calm and steady and asks for nothing. He tells Mirko his family moved here from Pakistan when he was a boy. I was not born here. But I will die here, inshallah. He means it peacefully. Not with resignation but with belonging, the belonging of someone who has put his roots down so deep that even the hardness of the place is his. He helps them. He knows the trails. He reads the landscape the way only someone who has walked it their whole life can. And when the danger closes in around the village, he doesn't run. He stays. The film doesn't make a big thing of this. It just shows you a man who chose to help a stranger and his 5-year-old charge, in the middle of a war that was never really his, because it was the right thing to do. In a film full of soldiers and fighters and men with guns and speeches about empire, a goat herder who asks for nothing and gives everything is the quietest hero. Mirko gets captured. Not because he's careless. Because the terrain runs out. Jarrah has him and he wants to know when and where the helicopter is coming. He wants the exfil coordinates. He wants Mirko to trade the lives of the QRF team for his own survival. Mirko doesn't. He sits in the dirt with his hands bound and looks at Jarrah and says exactly nothing useful. The scene is quiet in a way that action films usually aren't. No dramatic music building, no countdown clock ticking. Just two men in a room with the full weight of what's happening between them, and Mirko deciding for the second time in this film, what he can live with. He can live with dying here. He can't live with sending more of his men into an ambush to save himself. And so will you, American. And so will you. And you ain't from Afghanistan. But you're going to die here. Zoe saves him. I won't walk you through exactly how. The film earns the surprise and I want you to feel it. But what I will tell you is that when the moment comes, she does the thing that needs to be done with the steadiness of someone who has been paying attention this entire time. Who watched Mirko. Who listened to every instruction. Who held the knife the way he showed her and remembered which direction to swing. 5 years old. On a mountain in Afghanistan. Doing the necessary thing. When Mirko finds her afterward, he says, I told you I'd never leave you. She looks at him. You're my angel. He told her earlier, I'm no angel. He said it flat like a fact. And maybe it's true in every context he's ever lived in. But on this mountain, to this child, he was the thing that came down from the sky when everything else was falling apart. The film doesn't push this. It doesn't make it sentimental. It just shows you Zoe's face when she says it and lets you feel what it means. The QRF team arrives. The extraction happens. Mirko gets his one mission objective off the mountain. The film ends with his voiceover, quiet, earned, not quite resolved. I still don't know if things happen for a reason. Whether it's fate, destiny, or the hand of God. But what happened that day changed me. I lost a piece of myself. But I also gained something. Someone. Someone who reminded me that the things in life worth living for are worth dying for. I could never replace the family she lost. But Louis and I will do our best. She's my everything now. She's my family. He's talking about a stuffed rabbit and a 5-year-old girl and a mountain in Afghanistan where everyone else died. He's a Navy SEAL Master Chief who fell out of a helicopter and chose to go toward the wreckage. And he came down off that mountain with one thing. The one thing turned out to be enough. Here's what I keep thinking about after Warhorse 1. It's a film made by veterans, directed by William Kaufman and Johnny Strong, who also plays Mirko, and who clearly drew on something real in the research and the writing. That background shows. Not in sentimentality but in specificity. The way Mirko communicates changes around Zoe. He never stops being tactical, but he finds a register that works for a child without being condescending. The way he reads terrain. The way the radio procedures feel exact. The way exhaustion accumulates over the course of the mountain, in the heaviness of his movements, not performed but real. The film also does something that American war movies often fumble. It holds the humanity of the Afghans in frame. Not just as victims, the goat herder who chooses to help, Zoe's mother Rashida who was born in Kabul and chose to bring her children back to serve the country she came from. The Afghan interpreters the Walters family was helping evacuate. The film doesn't flatten the people whose country this actually is. Angera's speech stays with you. The graveyard of empires. The history that doesn't go away just because one side writes the headlines. Warhorse 1 is a film about a mission and a man and a child, and it is also, underneath all of that, a film about what it means to be in a place you were never supposed to leave like this, trying to hold on to something worth carrying home. Mirko carries Zoe. That's the answer the film gives. Not to the geopolitics. Not to the question of why the war happened or what it cost or whether it was worth it. Just, here is one man and here is one child, and here is what he chose to do when the helicopter went down and there was nothing left but the mountain and her. It's enough. It has to be enough. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss more videos like this. Thanks for watching.